All right, so let's talk about what the president's going to bring up tonight. I'm sure education won't be in it. I'm sure he's going to take a bow on the economy, but I'm looking at the polls. Elise, CBS, NBC, and Fox have him in the mid to high 30s in terms of economic approval. Wouldn't he be crazy to craft a speech that tells everyone differently?
Certainly, but I think that's what we're going to hear, Brian. They're going to double down and try to take a victory lap. But the reality is it's so disconnected from hardworking Americans. People are suffering under continued rising costs. We have the highest rate of inflation in over 40 years. They continue to suffer in my district in upstate New York. Home heating bills are out of control this year when you compare them to last year. It's unaffordable. Utility bills are up. And small businesses can't find workers to work because there are incentives for folks to stay out of work rather than reentering the workforce. So the people across this country understand that. And, you know, what also we're not going to hear from Joe Biden is he's going to double down on this unsustainable national debt that Democrats racked up so quickly in 2 years, over $31 trillion that's saddling future generations. We need to have an honest conversation, which is why House Republicans are working so hard to negotiate, to stand up for fiscal responsibility, bringing our budget back to balance. And we're not going to hear that from Joe Biden tonight. I had hoped we would, but they're going to double down on this failed approach.
So, look, tonight I'm sure the president will say that balloon came across and we blew it up and people are going to stand up and cheer. But as we look at this and we've tried to find out why they keep bringing up that Donald Trump ignored it and had this things happen, his Trump administration had it happen during his time, then they had to walk it back. The latest is the general in charge said we were unequipped at that time to handle balloons coming into our perimeter. But now we are. Really? Is this, you remember the Armed Services Committee? Are we ill-equipped to stop a balloon?
Well, certainly we are demanding briefings for the Armed Services Committee and the House Intelligence Committee, and House Republicans are demanding a Congress-wide briefing because there are more questions than answers. Every day when the Biden administration is changing their answer to this real national security crisis, there are more questions that we need to ask. I will tell you, Joe Biden, I believe, mishandled this. It is an abysmal failure to allow the communist Chinese spy balloon fly over the United States, multiple military operations, and then declare a victory lap after it's already, flown over our sovereign airspace, as I said, probably and potentially collecting intel. I haven't gotten the briefing yet, so I will wait for that. But every American is concerned, and what also concerns every American is there was no intention for this administration to address this had it not been raised by an everyday American who got images of it over Montana. The governor of Montana, former colleague of mine, Greg Gianforte, he was not even informed by this White House, by the Biden White House, until it had been miles into Montana airspace.
So that's got to be discouraging. You know what? Also, when you talk about the border, we might as well be a border state here in New York about the way this issue is raging. There's 42,000 people here at minimum. Some bust, some just showed up. We have no place to put them. We have this Brooklyn terminal nobody wants to go to. Now we're starting to bust people on New York taxpayer dollars into Canada. What's going to be the resolve here? Because now New York City wants New York State wants New York City to write a $500 million check, and New York City says we're broke. How bad is it here?
It's a crisis, and House Republicans have been hammering away at this crisis. And we have the most secure border in modern history not that long ago under President Trump. And look how quickly this unraveled. This is a direct result of the policies and executive actions of Joe Biden. And every state is a border state, Brian. It has been. If you look at the fentanyl overdoses across America, they continue to skyrocket. The vast majority of that is pouring across our southern border. We also are fundamentally a country based upon the rule of law, and that's clearly not the case with how Biden has mishandled this border catastrophe. And you talk about every part of New York State being a border state. That bus from New York City going up to Canada, that goes right through my district up the Northway, and it's paid for by the taxpayers. Hardworking families should not be footing the bill. We need to secure the border. House Republicans will bring a border security package to the floor. It's one of our commitments to America. And we need to fix our legal immigration system. We should not be incentivizing illegals to continue to pour into this country.
I got to get two more issues in. We're talking to Congresswoman Elise Stefanik of New York, member of the leadership, and she's, of course, going to be in attendance with State of the Union tonight, which we're going to be covering here on Fox. So let's talk about the next balloon. There's a balloon right now heading our direction from Central America. Don't you believe you need to be briefed on this? And is there anything short of blowing it up that you'd accept?
Well, certainly we need to be briefed on this. And again, we are anticipating that briefing. We are demanding those briefings, and it's not time for excuses. We need to hear specifically what the plan is to protect our sovereign airspace and to make sure that no intelligence is collected by the Chinese Communist Party. Remember, Brian, it was House Republicans that set up the Select China Committee, and we did actually get 100 Democrats who voted with us to set that up. It's sad that, a lot of Democrats voted to oppose that, but this is our greatest adversary when we're considering what my generation is going to face in the 21st century. So I will tell you, China is testing this president, and this president has failed. He is asserting weakness on the global stage. And again, we would hope to see strength, and we're just not seeing that.
All right. This political weaponization committee, your chairwoman, Congresswoman Stefanik, on this, and I think Jim Jordan is doing this. Is he chairing it as well?
Well, I'm the chair of the conference. I'm a member on that committee. Jim Jordan is leading the political weaponization, but I'm a member appointed to it, and this is some of the most important work that House Republicans will conduct because these agencies are going after innocent Americans just because they're conservative beliefs, because they happen to be Republicans. Look at the double standard. If your last name happens to be Clinton or Biden, crimes get brushed under the rug, and hardworking Americans know that. We need to address and root out this rot that has happened in these federal agencies and expose this. Transparency and sunlight is a good thing for every American, no matter what your partisan affiliation is, and this needs to be addressed.
It would be. And what can we expect? Because it's such a general term, but I think you're going to be leaning towards seeing the FBI, finding out what's going on with the FBI. And how many whistleblowers do you understand have come forward to say they're willing to testify?
Multiple whistleblowers have come forward. We are in the process of taking depositions on a weekly basis, and that is led by Jim Jordan and the team on the Select Subcommittee. I'm particularly focused on the politicization of the FBI and DOJ, whether it's targeting of parents. And, of course, we now know, based upon my oversight work, that it was the White House that solicited the letter from the National School Boards Association that it used to justify tagging these parents as domestic terrorists and then targeting them. I also have local issues. There was a very deadly vehicular crash in upstate New York that killed 20 people, and the owner of the vehicle company was a longtime FBI informant. The FBI has tried to brush their culpability under the rug. It was my questions of Chris Wray in an open hearing that forced them to open an investigation. I'm going to require that to be turned over to Congress. If they're not going to do it voluntarily by the FBI, we will subpoena them. And there is a lot more that we need to go after. Or also the soft handling of Hunter Biden's crimes, the fact that the FBI has refused to, has treated Hunter Biden with kid gloves. That is politicization, let alone the Twitter files, the fact that the FBI paid Twitter $3 million to suppress a news story that the American people should have been able to have access to in this free country. That's a form of election meddling, Brian. It's very serious.
I hear you. Congresswoman Stefanik, we'll look for you tonight in the audience.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much. When we come back, we'll be able to take your calls and find out if there's even more to know. Brian Kilmeade Show. Don't move.